Do you find yourself struggling to stay motivated? I think that's something that all of us find ourselves struggling with. I'm definitely one who does. In fact, I dare say I'm making this video just as much for me as for y'all. But I have found a few tactics that are really working for me, that I'm finding that extra push, especially in down times, that I'm going to share with y'all in this video. Before we jump into these different tactics that I have been employing, this first piece is important, and it will build upon the things that I've been doing that are helping me. And that's defining what motivation is. And if you break it down, motivation's core word is motive. So motive is why we would choose to do something. Now, there are really, as you research it, 4 different kinds of motives. There's intrinsic, extrinsic, sorry, I'm going to look at my notes, introjected, and identified. So let's break each of these down. As mentioned, the first form of motivation is intrinsic. And what intrinsic is fun or pleasure. So we do things because they're fun. You might play video games or watch a movie, go to concerts, spend time with friends, all these different things, right? We do these, and the motive to do those things is because they're fun, they bring us pleasure, we enjoy them. Now, moving on, next form of motivation was extrinsic, and this is external pressure. A great one that comes to mind is rent or mortgage, and our utilities, the cost of living. So with this motivation, we go to our jobs. We wake up, we go to our jobs. Some of us are fortunate to really enjoy our jobs. Others of us just hate the hell out of our jobs. But we go because we want to have a roof over our head, food in our bellies, clothes on our back. And that's what extrinsic motivation is. Now, moving on, let's talk about introjected. And introjected is like fear, guilt, social pressures that motivate us to do things. So it could be some type of a guilt. Hate to say it, but I think a lot of us, if you're a religious person, there are certain things you do because of like a fear of, going to your version of hell. We could have pressure from our parents, from social pressures as well, to behave a certain way or do certain things. I'm sure like y'all have made certain decisions in my life more out of the social pressure, but that's what introjected motivation is. The last form of motivation is identified. And this is the deepest form, and if we can live in this area of motivation, this is where it's going to be the deepest. And the identified is motivation to do things that fulfill us, that are, kind of get down to that core, that are things that we want to do regardless of the social pressure, the needing to pay the rent, fun, whatever. I also like to think of these more as like a moral, like we're motivated because we're an honest person, or we want to be defined as a helpful person, charitable. I don't know, maybe you want to be defined as a jerk, so you do rude shit. I don't know. But that's what identified is. And the pro to identified is this gives us anonymity because we are choosing to act on these things because we want to. It's deep within us. So now that we have defined what motivation is, we've gone through the 4 types. Now let's jump into some different strategies to harness these and ultimately find that deeper motivation to do the things that we need. So let's start with a short-term tactic when you are in a situation where you just need to get your butt off the couch. And it's just one of those days where you're not finding anything. I was watching a video with Dr. Andrew Huberman, and he talked about this thing called limbic friction. And this also explains why cold showers are all the rage in personal development. Like, I personally didn't get it. I'm like, this is just flat freaking miserable. I've tried them every time. I'm like, this shit is dumb. And I ultimately don't do them. But there's a thing called limbic friction, and that's the whole concept, is it's putting yourself through some pain because it triggers some different endorphins and stuff. It goes over my head. I'm not naturally a scientific person. So we talked about how the cold shower creates a pain that releases those endorphins because we naturally want to get the heck out of that shower. And then we all of a sudden have this little dose of what we need to get going. He also talked about, let's say you're sitting there like, I need to do something, and you have two tasks. Like it might be clean the toilet or go run an errand. And you might choose to clean the toilet because even though it seems worse, it's actually not. You just squirt your solvent or your cleaner, whatever you call it, in, let it sit and scrub, flush, boom, you're done. So for you, it's not that much friction, but you get the little endorphin hit. What we should be doing at that point in time is actually going and running the errand because it requires more out of us. And once we get that little bit more going, the hit of endorphins we're going to need to stay motivated throughout the rest of the day is going to be a bigger hit. All right, now let's get into some more long-term motivation. And this first strategy is related to setting goals. Now, pretty much every video I've seen, and even some, I'm trying to think, I've even made some goal setting videos as well. And the goals are like, I want to lose like 50 pounds. I want to, get this new job, buy this vehicle, all this material shit, or career goals. But this concept is setting more of like a character goal of saying, hey, I am going to be this kind of a person or that kind of a person. Like, it could be I'm a successful person in a career, or, one that I think of is someone who says I'm a religious person. And that religious person is going to make a point to go to the services for whatever the faith is that they choose. Even like if they're, they stay up late or whatever, they make it a priority. That was something I definitely saw in the religion I grew up in, was that it was crazy the sacrifices a lot of people would make in that religion when they determined I am an actively practicing member of this faith. They would work until like 1 in the morning to get up at 9, or they would go and do something on another day of the week. And it was because they determined I am a religious person, I am a faithful member of this particular church. So they made those sacrifices to make sure they were at the meetings. We could apply this as well to someone who says, you know what, I am a fit person. And fit people make sure they go to the gym even when they're tired, or they're, maybe at 50% in their body battery. They get their workouts in. They also hold to a stricter diet than most of us do. And it's because they've said, I am this kind of person. And that's something that I'm striving to be. And, one for me is I am a successful YouTuber. And this, definitely is difficult. And one thing that comes with this for me is setting a schedule of getting a video out every other week right now is the pace that I'm holding. And regardless, even if it's inconvenient or I want to go out, as I said, an intrinsic motivator for me is riding my bike. I might have to sacrifice a bike ride to make sure I get that video out for y'all every other week. So that's, first and foremost, a great thing we should do is set our goals and strive to exhibit certain character traits. Now I have one more for y'all. So let's get onto this last little tip or strategy for y'all. And it's a deeper form of visualization. Now we hear that like every freaking guru talks about visualizing your goals, creating a vision board, imagining yourself. Now, I listen to Ed Milet a lot. He's one of my favorite personal development podcasters out there. Recommend if y'all have never listened to his stuff or watched him on YouTube. Now, he goes a step further in his visualization, and he shares a story, and he's employed this over the years. He wanted to live in this particular city, and, it was a little ways away. There was a kind of an almost borderline unrealistic level of income that he would need to get there. But what he would do is save up, for a month or two, and would go and visit there on a weekend, stay in the local hotels, eat the local restaurants, go about the city, and would get that vibe of picturing himself there long term. He was in that moment. He could smell the smells, actually physically see the sights, sit on the street benches, whatever it is. And so it was a step further than the typical, sitting here closing your eyes like this, visualizing it's actually touching the thing. And I can relate to this, and this is something that I've been doing as of late. Like to share with you guys, there's a goal that my wife and I have. We want to own a travel trailer and be able to employ both going more long distance, jumping on the plane, traveling, and also just getting away for a lot of weekend getaways in the mountains. So a travel trailer is a great thing. So we went to an RV show here locally over the weekend, looked at the trailers, sat in them, visualized ourselves owning one of these, going on the camping trips, and it made it more real in our mind because we were sitting in the trailer, we were touching it, smelling it, and could really see ourselves in the trailer. And of course it sparked more conversations of, it's been a minute since we've talked about our goals, but really, where are we with accomplishing this goal of buying this trailer? Is this the kind that we want? Out of what we saw, like, what was your favorite floor plan? And we took that time to have that deeper visualization. And I can tell you, coming out of the weekend, in fact, coming into filming this video, strangely, kind of had that extra dose to get this video done and get it out, because part of my long-term strategy is success here on the channel, besides, of course, helping you guys out. But that painted a bigger, more vivid picture in my mind because I put myself in that situation. And, it might be a dream car. Now, don't waste the car salesman time. I used to do that. That would make me quite disappointed. But, maybe on a Sunday or something, go and walk the car lot. Look at those vehicles you want, whether it's a new truck, sports car, I don't know. You could do that. If there's a certain neighborhood that you want to live in, go take a cruise through that neighborhood every now and then. If there's a city park in that area, maybe go on picnics there with your family, and you immerse yourself in that a little bit more. And then all of a sudden you see, like, oh, this is more real. It's in your mind. So then you're naturally going to gravitate to doing those things that you need to do to get to that place or get that thing. Now, I hope that you find these strategies to be helpful for you as you're trying to find more motivation, just as they've been helping me out as of late. Now, just like all of y'all, I can say, especially for me, this is always going to be an ongoing struggle to find the motivation. Speaking of another thing that I even struggle with, and I know that most of us do as well, that's gaining confidence and keeping confidence. And so I recommend you check out this video right here with some helpful tips on how you can gain more confidence.